So, this is my house. As you can see, I need to take my recycling out. You know, it's modest. It's not a whole lot. And then we have this. And there is a very specific reason for this to be here. And it has to do with the man that bought this house you see over here. So, sorry for the jiggle there. But the reason that we have this here is because when the man bought this house, he decided that the driveway you can see, you know, right about by that tree, wasn't adequate to serve this house's needs. So he wants to illegally install a driveway at the back. So you see this roadway here, and you see right where that log is, that's where the pavement ends. Because this house is the last house on this road. So we use the area behind that concrete barricade for our supplemental parking. And apparently Mr. Sheehan really wants that property. So on June 16th, I heard a dump truck backing up the alleyway, and it had a load of gravel in it. So I came outside, in my nightgown I might add, to find out what was going on. And I made them stop and leave with the gravel because I knew, and I have email documentation to prove that I knew, Mr. Sheehan did not have a permit to install a driveway on the back of his property. So Mr. Sheehan and I proceeded to exchange words. And I probably said something along the lines of, yes, if you put a driveway there, I guarantee you will never be able to get a vehicle out of there, which actually wouldn't even be an intentional thing. It's just there is no parking here. As you can see, there's my deck, there's my vehicle, and there's a tree. I'll step back a little bit so you can see there is no room to have another vehicle there. Okay? So, yes, I stopped the dump truck. I sent them on their way. I argued with Mr. Sheehan, and he insisted that he was going to have his driveway one way or another, that he would have the existing driveway pulled out before the end of the day. So, the one person who works for the municipality that was willing to work with me made sure that this barricade got placed to prevent Mr. Sheehan from installing an illegal driveway. Now, this is not my first rodeo with Mr. Sheehan, and I am not the only person who has had issues with him, so I'll explain that stuff a little bit further. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about how it's been to have Mr. Sheehan as a neighbor. So this is a publicly accessible map. I accessed it through the Town of Kingsville's website, and you can see the properties here. I'm just kind of zooming in a little bit. Now I'm going to add in the aerial imaging. So 2008, 2010, 2013, I'm going to adjust these sliders to show you a few things. So in my neighborhood, this group of 4 cottages is the first property that Mr. Sheehan bought. So you can see that this cottage has a driveway, this cottage has a driveway, this cottage has a driveway off of this secondary road, Scratch Lane, you know, which is fairly low traffic because you're backing out. And then this one here, well, it's off of the main road, which is a pretty narrow road actually, and does get quite a bit of traffic, especially in the summer months. So let's slide open this 2010 and watch the changes around this cottage in particular. I don't know the exact date between 2008 and 2010 when Mr. Sheehan bought these properties, but I'm assuming it's pretty close to 2010 because this is when you can start to see the changes happening. So I'm adjusting the slider and the magic is happening. And you can see, okay, he's added a shed or something here, and he's added a deck onto this property and some skylights. I don't know why anyone would install skylights. I think all they ever do is leak, but hey, whatever you want to do. And you can see the parking is kind of moving around to here, although these could very well be workers that are helping Mr. Sheehan. Who knows? Now let's open up this 2013 overlay. Now what you see is this driveway is gone, and instead it's routed around to here. So now people that are parked at this cottage have to back out onto this busy roadway. I mean, you can see there's cars, like every image pretty much that I've showed you, there's cars, right? Okay, so let's look at some kind of blurry pictures. Sorry, I took them kind of quick this morning. I felt like a really major creepy stalker. So, the regular door that went to this cottage has been closed off. It's gone. And when the driveway was moved, this door was put on the front of it. It's a patio door. It's not, I honestly, I don't know how the tenant manages to lock that door. Maybe, they've come out with some new patio doors that I'm not aware of, but either way, this is the tenant's only access to and from this cottage. So, and you can also see, this is the second cottage in. I will show you on the map here. So this would be this cottage here. So this cottage is the one that's had the door removed from this side, okay, and it's been moved around to the front. There's been a deck added, whatever, and it's a patio door. It's not a proper entrance door, but whatever. So this is the second cottage. It still has its proper entrance door, but it also has this patio door, although it does kind of look like it's a garden door, so maybe you can properly lock it. I don't know. But this door is just kind of hanging out there, no deck, no step, and there was probably no permit or no inspection, so who knows if there's been a proper header installed or anything. We just have no way of knowing because, he doesn't really follow any rules other than his own. I guess rules are for everyone else. Okay, so back to the interactive map. So let's talk about the next property that Mr. Sheehan bought in this neighborhood. Okay, we'll wait for this map to load up a little bit. I might have to zoom, well, I don't want to zoom out too much. Okay, so you can see these group of 3 cottages here. They have these long park-like front lawns, and actually, they were quite lovely. These aerial views, they're done either late fall, early spring when there's no trees and things aren't green. But, it really was quite a lovely view, to be honest, whether I was looking from my own deck or my friend's deck who lives here. But anyways, this house here, again, I'm not certain on specific dates other than the fact that I'm fairly confident it occurred between, yeah, you can see where it's a lot greener here. It occurred between 2010 and 2013. So this house here, what happened, I believe it went into foreclosure. So it was unoccupied for an entire winter, and a water main or a water line broke. So the entire basement was flooded all winter long. So Mr. Sheehan purchased this property. He kind of slapped up some drywall and stuff, He didn't really repair anything, just, made it look nice. And he rents this property out. Okay, so let me show you illegal driveway number 2, because you are supposed to have a permit to install a driveway, but permits don't stop Mr. Sheehan. So here we go. Okay, you can see he's added a driveway. Um, somebody rents this, but he stores his boat there, or at least he was at that time. Although my understanding is you are technically not supposed to have a boat on your property over the winter. You're supposed to pay and have it stored elsewhere. At least that's what the man across the street has to do. So, but hey, what do I know? I don't personally own a boat. Okay, so that's this property. Now, when he was installing the driveway and everything else, you have to understand he also added fill and elevated this property. Okay, so now let's go back to our original view, because this was the next property Mr. Sheehan bought. This is my place here. Mr. Sheehan bought this one. And let me tell you, Mr. Sheehan is the type of person that when you find out he's moving in next to you, you run out in your yard with a shovel and you find your property stakes. Okay? I made sure I did. Okay? So let's look at illegal driveway number 3. Okay. So this is a shed that he moved over here. It's pretty much, I actually think it's further forward now. This is from 2013 and we're now 2015. This used to be my vegetable garden. This shed has been moved so that it is right behind my vegetable garden. Okay, so Mr. Sheehan sided the 3 sides of it that he can see completely. So this side, and this side. And actually kind of a nice tan color siding. But on the side that faces me, he ran out of siding before he finished it. So only the bottom half is sided, and the rest, it was red chipboard in a really bad condition. So when I commented on the state of the siding and asked him if he was going to complete it, he went and bought some paint that matched the siding. But he ran out before he finished. So the bottom half is sided and the top half is partially painted to match the siding, but some of it is still red flaking chipboard, and it is right here. So I didn't get any more sun on my vegetable garden either. Okay, so, and this is, his next illegal driveway. The garage he added. I used to have a line of sight to the lake. I don't anymore. I get to see his garage. Actually, let's go back to my photos of the neighbor from hell. So this is the view before we put up our fence. This is what I got to see. Okay. So this is off at a campground now because it's his RV that he uses in the summertime. And I believe both of these little pod things are gone. Honestly, they're a little bit cool, like kind of if you did something with them, I could kind of see the appeal there. But they pretty much just sat there all winter. Something for me to look at, I guess. This is his little Tonka toy. He likes to get on and dig up stuff without doing line locates, so Ontario Hydro has to come and repair stuff. And this is, wow, it's blurry. I apologize. This is the mobile home that is currently sitting over there. It's been there for a month. I just can't believe it. It's still there. The town does nothing. Property Standards does nothing. They just allow it. Okay, so going back to our map. So on this property here, Mr. Sheehan brought in somewhere between 14 and 16 trailer loads of fill. So he elevated it substantially. This is my friend's property. Um, while all of this stuff was going on, she was constantly in communication with our building department and IRCA. We're on a floodplain, so you know IRCA does have a concern here, but either way, she let them know. Now, so this property has been raised, and this property has been raised. So pretty much this property here just got turned into a canal. IRCA told my friend she couldn't add any fill. The building department did nothing to stop what was happening here or what was happening here. They did, however, come out and see this friend of mine, and a couple times she got a long list of stuff that property standards wanted her to fix. One of their concerns was she had her recycling bins by her front door. You can kind of see these places are really small. They don't have attached garages. That one I still find amazing. Like, where exactly else are you supposed to put your recycling bin? So, maybe if you can't put it in your garage, I guess you just get rid of the recycling bin and you throw everything in the garbage. So now this year, we did experience a lot of heavy rains. This is my road. It flooded. I've never seen this before. Well, actually, one time I did see it when lake levels were high and we had sustained winds from the south and the lake was pushed up over the break wall. And that's the only time I've seen that happen. There used to be a drain here somewhere, but it's gone. So the town has added a drain here. This is the corner of my property. This has never happened. I've lived here 24 years, folks. And you can see a little bit of that red paint that still shows. We have the fence up now, so it doesn't bother me as much. I was actually kind of okay, with my yard at this point, other than the flooding. That is a fire pit, completely submerged. And these are 2x6s, and there is 2x6s over here. There's 1, 2, 3. So this is halfway up the second one. So basically that's 9 inches of water over in that corner. Never ever happened. 24 years I've lived here. Never. So going back to my neighbor, she had basically, well, a canal in her front yard. I don't have pictures of it, but she did. So the town came and they put a drain in. While they were installing it, Mr. Sheehan tried to get it moved onto his property. So the people putting it in had to dig it up and fix it and put it back where it was supposed to go. So it's now on this property here to drain it. It was free to my friend. Personally, I think the expense should have been billed back to Mr. Sheehan because he did create the problem. We never had flooding here before. There used to be a little bit that would happen down around this area, okay, but not what we've seen here since we had a lot of rain in all of Mr. Sheehan's fill. Okay, so on to my current conflict with Mr. Sheehan. So Mr. Sheehan has just bought this property over here, and this is where I live. And 2013 I was working in greenhouse, so my vehicle was never in the driveway. But you can see here's my car here. When I back out of my driveway, remember that big maple tree I showed you? To get out and turn around so I can drive down the alleyway, the back corner of my car comes all the way over to here, the side of the road. But Mr. Sheehan wants to put a driveway here. Even though this one here has worked perfectly fine for this house for 24 years, he wants to put a driveway here. So where are we going to park? like, what am I supposed to do? I have two grown children, both of them are boys, 24 and 20, not quite ready to move out on their own, but they both work. The 20-year-old doesn't have a vehicle yet, but the 24-year-old does. So you can't fit it here. The town isn't obligated to bring the road past the front corner of my house because I'm the last house on the road, because I could fit two vehicles back here. But again, they're not obligated to bring the pavement that far or any sort of road improvement. It's considered an unimproved road of right of way. So, so here we are. Currently, we're a two vehicle household, soon to become a three vehicle household because, like, kids have to have jobs and they have to be able to get to their jobs so that, eventually they can start their lives as adults, right? But Mr. Sheehan, he doesn't care about that. He just wants his driveway back here. So he's been told by our municipal services guy, and that no, he can't have a driveway back there because this roadway is only 20 feet wide. Like, this is a full 2-lane road. This is a single lane road. Okay. But he doesn't care. He wants it anyway. So, this is where our barricade is. This is where my son parks right now. And I have to do kind of like a 10-point turn to get out of my driveway. And I usually end up driving on this guy's property some, just so that, I can drive out and pull out safely onto what you see as County Road 50 here. And it's really been a very uncomfortable situation. So on Monday, actually last week, I sent an email, and it had been about a month since my last email, because Mr. Sheehan's been doing repairs on this property, and he's been doing some pretty extensive renovations and constructions on this property without a permit. He has added a foundation, which I'm not going to dispute. The house did need one, but it also needs to be done properly. It has to be done to code. There's a reason for building code, right? It's not just to cost homeowners money. It's so that when this property gets sold, somebody's not buying like a shitload of somebody else's problems, right? It's not there to punish homeowners. It's there to protect homeowners. But yeah, no permit. He's been doing all this work. It's completely gutted. So, I don't know if it's completely gutted. I haven't looked in the window. I just know there's been a lot of construction going on there because I work from home, so I hear it happening. I see it happening. And I think he did some work on the floor joists. These are old winterized cottages, so they got weird stuff going on, like floor joists that are too far apart. Now, I may be a woman, but I know there is no such thing ever as a 2x6 floor joist. But that was the biggest piece of lumber I saw in this house, or in this yard, I should say. So when I got in touch with the one person in the town who seems willing to actually do something about this stuff, or at least the only one I've found so far. Let me put it that way. I don't want to. I'm sure there's good people there. I just need to find them. So, when I contacted the town, wonder of wonders, this notice got attached to the door, and it's an order to comply. There's not supposed to be any further construction on this house until a building permit is obtained. No construction, no renovation, and then once the building permit is obtained, whatever's already been done is supposed to be opened up for inspection. So, it's a step, but for the past 2 days, I've been at least on the first day, I heard hammering all day long. So, unless he's hanging a lot of pictures in there, he's working in there, and he's not supposed to be, because this is still on the door. And, I'm assuming as soon as he gets a permit, that actually gets taken down by the town, but it hasn't happened. So, that leads me to believe there's no permit. So on Monday, I went to a council meeting because Mr. Sheehan was requesting that the barricade that I showed you that's across the end of the road be removed to permit him access to the rear of his property. So he started off by, thanking the town for installing the drain and looking after that issue as if they did it like a personal favor to him. And reality is they had to install the drain to correct a problem he created when he elevated this property and elevated this property. And then he proceeded to say that he couldn't understand why this barricade had just been dropped there. It suddenly appeared. So when the barricade actually showed up, I had my car parked at the end of the road because I work. I'm not here picking my nose all day. I have a job to do. I can't be looking out the window and making sure a dump truck isn't dropping a load of gravel illegally. So I parked my car here, and Mr. Sheehan called the cops on me. So I was standing out here talking to a lady officer, a police officer. This doesn't matter whether it was a woman or a man, but if I'm going to say she or her. So I was talking to her, and she was telling me that I needed to move my vehicle. Otherwise, she could have me towed. Remember the pavement that stops here? In my mind, effectively, that means this is a dead-end road. So where I park has no bearing on this house or this house, because look, he has a driveway over here, right? So why do you need me to move my car from here when your driveway is here? Because your address says Scratch Lane. Mine says Dick Sally. Yours, Scratch Lane. Mine, Dick Sally. To me, this is all really clear, but I guess it's not really clear to town council. So, I honestly left the meeting feeling like they had all but puckered up and kissed Mike's ass. They said that they would review and look at the report. One person that I know, in fact, does know what's going on and the details, acted as if this was the first he was hearing of this. He didn't even know this barricade was here. And he does. He knows. I have emails to show he knows. But, I'm pretty discouraged. So Mr. Sheehan owns this property, and these 3 cottages and this property. So, it's pretty logical. Yeah, he pays a shit ton more taxes than I do. Okay. But I've been living in this house for 24 years. I've raised 2 boys here. I'm a single mom. I have a good job now. But my income has always been modest. The house is modest, but I'm less than 5 years from having it paid off. And if Mr. Sheehan gets his way, I am going to have to move because there will be no place for my children to park. Children, young men, whatever you want to call them. They're my kids. They live with me, right? Most young men are not ready to move out at this point, not with the amount of insurance they have to pay, right? So what am I supposed to do? Am I this property here? It looks like it's wide open, but it's not mine. Mike might not have any problems with using it for his overflow parking, but this doesn't belong to me. It belongs to this man over here. And, I can't just be parking wherever I please. And we can't be. So what am I supposed to do? Have them park all the way in town in municipal parking and drive them back and forth to the house, at the end of the day? It's just unfathomable to me that, this man who's bought this property that's been served adequately by a driveway off of scratch for 24 years may be able to cause this much havoc in my household. I'm, I'm really discouraged. I just feel like my tax dollars don't count, that they're insignificant, and it's pretty depressing, really. So anyway, thank you.